All right, what's up, everyone? This is the Osmo.com NHL Hit the Ice show. I'm Jake Hari here to break down this 11-game slate with Steve Homerclees Bauer. Homerclees, how are you doing this afternoon?
Not too bad, not too bad. Trying to catch up on a few things here. Luckily, we don't have too many news and notes tidbits today. Seems like a pretty straightforward slate. A lot of options here today, though, so it's kind of tough to narrow things down. That's mainly what the tricky part that I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah, speaking of news and notes, I put in the our news and notes column that Nolan Kelly does so well. He kind of sums everything up in one article. I put that in chat, so anybody that's coming in right now can click on that. You guys are definitely going to want to check that out. There's not a ton to worry about today, but just a few minor notes that you want to familiarize yourself with. So you said there's a lot of options. Is this an MME night for you, or different things on different sites?
Yeah, I think so. It's just kind of hard to narrow down. I mean, you have some obvious heavy favorites, but I still see merit to a lot of plays tonight.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And it's always frustrating when there's multiple lines that you like.
Yeah.
Like in Toronto and I don't know, maybe like LA or Philadelphia, whatever line, like whatever team it is. But that's always the toughest for me. It feels like you never get to guess right on those. So
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to hit on those, especially because you don't know what the coaches are going to do a lot of the time. You don't know how they're going to match things and stuff like that. So it's somewhat difficult when there's so many good options. You kind of have to cover more bases, I think.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm doing like my normal 100, possibly getting in the queue, just using up some of my crowns. It's a $300 queue, so maybe taking a couple shots at that, and then
nice.
Yeah, just the MME stuff on DK. Has there been a change to Osmo.com's official position on Joe Thornton? Oh man, did you play last night, Steve?
I didn't, but I saw you had 3 assists.
Yeah.
3 secondary assists, right?
Yeah, and I actually had an okay amount. Like I was over the field on San Jose's, I guess you call it second line or third line, whatever you call it. But I couldn't get the right combination. I saw our buddy Testosterone took down the $8 again with a double San Jose stack. So I actually had a couple of those by studying Testosterone, but not the San Jose 1, San Jose 2 stack that was taking it down. So just
it looked like an interesting slate, just as far as none of the top guys really
happened.
did much.
Yeah, nothing happened until the Thornton Ham with Sorensen and Timo on his line.
Yeah, guys like Testosterone will do well in those kind of slates, because he really diversifies well.
Well. Yeah,
he'll play a ton of fourth lines, no problem. So
yeah,
those are the kind of nights where he has success, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing
when the top guys don't go off.
Yep. Anything on this slate we should point out from an ownership perspective, like we always do?
I mean, Toronto seems pretty popular, but they have multiple lines that can score. I assume the Matthews Nylander will get some kind of ownership there. Just everyone wants to play the new guy coming back.
Yep.
Beyond that, there's a couple other big spots. I mean, Tampa Bay is pretty big favorite. Vegas is pretty big favorites. I imagine those 3 teams see the most ownership.
Yeah, I think people will definitely be on the Vegas top line, especially, and there's question marks with Pacioretty. He's not listed on some of the sites too, so you might get some lower ownership on Vegas too, if that's your thing. And then, the other ones you mentioned, Toronto, big total there, near 4 this morning. Tampa with the healthy total, the Ottawa Montreal game. But there are quite a few spots that look really good. So I don't think there's anything we have to worry about, especially on an 11-game slate.
Sure, yeah.
All right, you want to get into this 11-gamer? Detroit
and
Toronto?
Let's do it.
All right, Detroit, Toronto. We have Jonathan Bernier going up against Garrett Sparks. There was a bunch of confusion with the Toronto beat writers as to who was starting, but I guess it is going to be Sparks now. 2.4 implied total for Detroit, 3.7 for Toronto. William Nylander returning with Austin Matthews and Patrick Marleau on his line. And then, actually, we've got a couple really solid lines here. So do you have a favorite Toronto line? Because I'm sure you're on them.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I'm kind of just going with the Tavares line because I think the Matthews line will be more popular.
Mm-hmm.
It just boils down to that. Both are pretty awesome lines. But also you get Nylander returning. He's playing his first game. Yeah, I imagine he'll be a little bit rusty. With that combined with everyone wanting to play that line makes Tavares a little bit more appealing for me.
Yeah. I like the Tavares line. They grade out better for me in terms of value and points, actually. So I lean to them, but I'm definitely going to force in some Matthews, Nylander, Marlowe. Those guys all get power play time. You got better correlation on the top power play with the Tavares line. Tavares Marner on the top power play still. But I kind of need to reverse my stance on Hyman. He's a guy I always used to leave off, but he does get a lot of empty net chances too. And that's something that I just noticed from watching more than anything. Like, he's always on the ice at the end of games if it's a 1 or 2 goal game. So 4,300 I think is fine for him. I'm going to include him in my Tavares Marner stacks if I can.
He's pretty hit and miss. I mean, when you leave him off, he's going to score.
Yeah,
and when you play him, like last game, he's going to get a fat 0. So
yeah,
you never know. I definitely had him in a lot of lineups with the Tavares and Marner last game.
Me too. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm probably going to keep him in until he gets priced up again, like Tom Wilson priced.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this one is really all about Toronto. I don't know if you've got anything on Detroit side for stacks, and then you want to talk about any defensemen here.
Well, just Detroit always seems to get some offense going against Toronto in their matchups. Matthews has had a ton of success against Detroit. He absolutely owns them right off the bat. I can tell you he's guaranteed goal tonight. And on the Detroit side, I want to run it back a little bit here. I'm just trying to decide which options here, because both those top 2 lines give up chances against defensively. So I think I don't want to completely rule out Detroit here. I'll probably have a sprinkle of both of their lines.
Yeah, I think I prefer the Larkin line. And then Are you seeing Advocator on the top power play too?
Yeah, it looks like they keep it together.
Okay.
Let me just double check what they did last game. Pretty sure he played with them the whole time. So, as much as I don't like Advocator, probably makes sense to leave him on if you're playing them.
Yeah, 3,300. And if he's going to play with them the whole game, then that's at least viable. So I leave him on.
They had... he played with them on the power play last game, but they didn't see a lot of time.
Were they on the green unit?
They didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was... Yeah, it looks like a bit of a mix, but he played the most time with Larkin and Nyquist on the power play in green.
Okay. And then do we have any defensemen worth talking about outside of Green and Riley, the top power play quarterbacks here?
Mainly them. I don't mind including Gardner here.
Okay.
Just because now that Nylander's back, maybe this second power play unit gets a bit of traction. And also just at even strength, depending on which line you're going to go with here, I think the Gardner-Zaitsev one. Gardner-Zaitsev combo is generally their shutdown pair, so they're probably going to go against Larkin at even strength, so they'll probably play with the Tavares line. Okay. So I can see, I can stack the Tavares line with either Gardner or Riley. I think both make sense.
Yeah.
I'd leave Gardner in, and I think Cholowski's okay. If you wanted to play that Athanasiou, Nielsen, Vanek line, then I would have them with Cholowski.
Okay. And then goalies, we've got Bernier, 6,700, super cheap. I think cheapest of the night. And then on the other side, Garrett Sparks at 8,300. Either of these guys appealing to you?
Not really. I probably wouldn't play Bernier, period, at the Leafs. And especially with that total, there's better cheap goalies for sure tonight. And I think Sparks is a bit expensive. Detroit doesn't really get a ton of shots on goal. They have a pretty low shot attempt projection tonight. So
I second that. All right. Yeah. Let's move on to Colorado and Florida. We have Philip Grubauer going up against Roberto Luongo. 3 implied total for the Avs. 3.1 for the Panthers. Got a couple of top lines that are interesting. I don't know how owned either of them will be, but are you looking at either of these top lines as a heavy target in GPPs?
Heavy target? Maybe not. It seems like it would be a good game. Both teams are capable of offense, and they both have very strong top lines. but they're likely to play head to head against each other at even strength. So but they all stay together on the power play, which is very appealing, especially on a larger slate. You want to be stacking top lines that have full correlation, ideally. So I don't know. Colorado's interesting just because Florida's penalty kill hasn't been great. But I actually a little bit more interested in the Florida side here. If you look at recent stats, Colorado's, they're taking a ton of penalties, but also their penalty kill has been pretty terrible over the last month or so. And Florida power play has been generating a lot of opportunities and scoring at a high clip. So I think it kind of shapes up a little bit better for them.
Yeah, I like Florida quite a bit here. Just I think a good price for them and full correlation that you mentioned, and Colorado takes a ton of penalties. So even if they did have a good kill, I would still want to target them just because of the expected opportunity that this Florida top power play will see. And then the McKinnon line, they're never not in play, no matter how expensive they are or whether it's a tough spot on the road. I don't think this is a really tough spot on the road for them at even strength. And then they obviously have a very, very good power play, and they just play a million minutes. So they'll be in my crunch. Right now they're coming up at 4 or 5% out of my 100, which I think is fine if they're going to be around there. Not taking a big stance either way on them, though. And then looking at any of the depth lines here?
No, not particularly. Not in this slate.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really think I'm going
there. None of the numbers stand out for either of them. No one's particularly strong offensively or defensively. So
Yandel for Florida, I guess if you're using Florida 1, and then Tyson Barrie up to 6K all of a sudden, just his second game back. Pretty expensive power play 1 guys if you are rolling with them. You're going to try to stack them up if you're going with one of these top lines here?
Yeah, it's tough because that is the appealing matchup on both sides of the power play, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is tough. You're gonna have to find some really cheap options if you're gonna pair with them. So I think it's not necessary. You could do it in GPPs, but as standalone value, it's not particularly great.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think, which pair? Do you know which pair is seeing the most time with Barkov, Huberdeau at or the Florida 1 line at even strength?
Yandel and Ekblad.
Yandel and Ekblad, okay. Yeah. I was going to say maybe we could get away with some $2,500 Mark Pysyk if it was still Matheson, but if it's
they hard matched against Boston last game against the Pasternak line. So I imagine the same. Colorado's equally top heavy team, so yeah, I could definitely see them going heavy on that matchup again.
Yeah, so I think Yandel's fine for 4,200 even if you are stacking Florida 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so Ekblad at 4,200 though, not too bad. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Luongo and Grubauer. Luongo's pretty cheap here for a slight home favorite. Do you like playing goalies against Colorado though?
It's tough because normally they don't have a lot of shot volume. Last game against Pittsburgh, I think, was a bit of an outlier. They fell behind pretty big so early that they started peppering with shots afterwards. But in general, they don't generate a ton of even strength shot attempts. They're, aside from McKinnon, he's a big shot attempt kind of guy. But beyond that, Colorado doesn't really fire a lot of volume on net, so it's kind of a tougher matchup in that regard. Yeah,
that's the issue for me too. It's a nice price, but not a guy that's going to be in a bunch of my lineups. I don't think even at a pretty good price.
Yeah, and I think people are going to want to play him again just because of what he did last game against Boston, but it's completely night and day matchup. Boston without Bergeron just can't score. So
yeah, yep, I think that's a really good point there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Columbus and Philadelphia. We've got another big total here, 3.2 implied total for the Blue Jackets, 3.3 for the Flyers. Bobrovsky, Stolarz are the goalies here, and this is one that I'm a little bit worried about. I like both top lines, but I'm not getting a ton of them. So I guess I kind of have to make a cut at some point, even making a bunch of lineups on an 11-game slate. So what are you doing with this game here?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, you saw Columbus last game. I don't know what the hell happened in that one. 15 combined goals.
Yeah.
That was insane. Luckily, nobody played Calgary, so kind of worked out.
They did in the $8.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that where you have 150 max lineups, but higher stakes stuff where you're limited to 10 or fewer entries, they were under 1% owned in a lot of those contests. So that worked out pretty
Is that
pretty
just a
okay.
blip on the radar for Columbus?
That particular game or
Yeah.
Columbus? I don't know. There's some signs they don't really have a good expected goals against at 5-on-5, and I kind of should have seen that coming. Calgary did have a decent expected goals for projection on that slate. They're top 5 in that regard, and I kind of completely ignored it. So my bad on that one.
I
In
was
this spot,
right there with you.
yeah. I mean, we did talk about how Calgary was a better 5-on-5 team, but I don't think we really pushed Calgary as much of a play. But here against Philly, it's another decent enough expected goals matchup. Not like top 5 on the slate, but Philly's a decent enough spot for that. I would probably lean towards the top line if I'm playing them.
For Philly?
For Philly, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree there. They're decently cheap, just over 18K to stack on DraftKings. I think is a fine price for them. They've got good even strength numbers. They get some power play one time with Couturier and Giroux. So yeah, just nothing wrong with them, even on a big slate. And then I'm assuming you would be on the top Columbus line if you're going to Columbus here.
Yeah, I think so. We haven't seen has Philly played at home in a bit.
They
I haven't
played against
seen how they're matching.
They played against Ottawa 2 games ago, and Ottawa's one of those tough teams though to get a read on what teams think is their top line. But they they didn't really hard match. They saw 6 minutes against Duchesne, and then 5 against Tierney. So there wasn't any hard match. And then before that, I don't think they've played at home in a while. I think you're right.
Yeah, just it's only been one game, but just looking at a very small sample size, I'm assuming the second line for Philly is pretty weak. So I don't know. I might include. I am interested in Columbus here for sure.
Okay.
It's kind of I think it's a decent enough bounce back spot for them in the sense that they were terrible in that Calgary game. So most teams tend to bounce back after giving up games like that. So I kind of see them playing a sharper game here. The second line maybe is interesting. I think they're going to get the second line for Philly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you kind of expect that on the matchup side. It's tough to say.
I would think so. Columbus has a very clear top line, and for the most part, they've been going Couturier against top lines. So I would expect to see that matchup quite a bit at even strength. And then that kind of leaves Patrick against the Boone Jenner, Foligno, Anderson line.
So I'm kind of interested in Columbus too, just for a cheaper line tonight.
Okay. Yeah, and then a good power play matchup for Columbus here as well. Philadelphia, the second worst kill, just over 71% for the season. So pretty. Bad.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, their penalty kill is horrible.
Yeah. So on that note, we do have Seth Jones and Werenski skating together. You can double D stack. I don't know that you need to on an 11-game slate, but get exposure to both power plays. And then we've got Gostisbehere on the other side, under 5K, which we haven't seen in a while, and Provorov. So similar with their defensemen in that they skate, their top 2 skate together at even strength, and they're each on a power play unit. So any of these guys you're looking at for GPPs?
Yeah, Ghost hasn't done anything in a while. His stats are pretty poor. But when his price gets down under 5K, I think he's worth a look usually, given the power play exposure. And Werenski comes at a pretty nice discount to Jones, so kind of liking him a bit more there too.
Okay. I think all 4 of them are fine, but Gostisbehere kind of earned that price reduction, even though Osmo does have him as an A value, 8 points grade. Yeah. Are you looking at the goalie? Go ahead.
One thing I want to add on FanDuel, their prices, all 4 defensemen there are very close together. So in that case, Jones stands out as the best play.
What is he at on FanDuel?
He's 5,500.
Oh man.
Ghost is 54. Werenski's 51, and Provorov's 49.
Oh yeah, that's pretty easily Jones there. Then.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make that clear because I get sometimes I talk about how I prefer Werenski or Ghost, but we're usually talking about DK pricing, and then I'll get questions later where people will jam in Werenski on FanDuel instead of playing Jones kind of deal, stuff like that.
Yep. Stolarz or Bobrovsky. Giving Stolarz another chance here at 6,800 at home, or Bobrovsky.
Yeah, I don't know. If I'm gonna dip down in price, I'd rather go Stolarz than Bernier.
Yeah.
If you really need a bottom of the barrel kind of guy, I'd rather go Stolarz as a favorite at home. But I still don't love the matchup. Kind of like Columbus here. So Bobrovsky 7,500. I think he's worth a shot in a bounce back spot. Maybe he's just going through a rough stretch. I don't know. But that seemed kind of like an outlier game.
Yeah, I like Bobrovsky quite a bit for 7,500 even. On the road here, I don't think he's going to be super heavily owned because of the high total against him, but this is the makings of, like you said, a big bounce back spot where he sees 35 plus shots and kind of stands on his head. So he's going to be a guy that is going to come close to hitting the cap for me, even as a one-off goalie, not even correlating. So, and then Stolarz, it's tough for me to get a bunch of him just because how bad that Philadelphia penalty kill is.
Yeah.
All right, let's move it on to the Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins. 2.9 implied total for the Isles, 3.6 for the Penguins. I believe it's going to be Thomas Greiss going for the Islanders and then Casey DeSmith for the Penguins. Are we going to see some Penguins chalk here?
We could, yeah, especially after Hornqvist had the hat trick last game, and then you're at home to the Islanders. The Islanders have done surprisingly well against them so far this year, though. So I don't know. It kind of makes me want to play more Islanders than I normally would.
Did they steal a win in Pittsburgh, or was that at
They
home?
won both in a home and home.
Oh, home and home. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They won both sides at the home and home.
Wow. That is pretty impressive. Maybe the Isles aren't as terrible as I thought.
Well, so they're actually decent enough in the expected goals metrics. Their shot attempt metrics are terrible. Mm-hmm. Their possession numbers are terrible, but they're not bad in the expected goals against.
Yeah.
Their expected goals for percentage, you could say.
Right. Maybe they're just funneling opponents into like medium danger and low danger chances instead of all the high danger chances that they were giving up last year that made everyone want to target against them every single game. But it's still like Vegas is still heavy on the Penguins here. One of the highest totals of the night, I think second highest, 3.6. And then you've got Rust on the top line here. It just makes them a very easy value when you're talking about hand building or using like Fantasy Cruncher. So I think I'm going to have more of the top line, the Crosby line. But I mean, I have no issue going to Malkin, Hornqvist, Pearson here either.
Yeah, just looking at the stats of the two lines, the Crosby line with Rust, still very solid possession numbers, shot attempt numbers versus shots against. They're great, but pretty dull high danger chance numbers. Nothing compared to what they were like with Simone. Mm-hmm. And I believe the two Islanders games they played earlier this year is when they put Simone together with them, and they were just generating so many high quality chances. With Rust, I don't know with Rust. Just good kind of cash play. Good floor guy. He'll probably get some shots and stuff. I question his offensive upside though in general.
The Penguins beats, one of them was making a deal out of Rust being on like a goal scoring drought, which is kind of funny. Like this isn't a guy that's going to score a bunch anyways, but I guess he's
that one heater in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he's kind of that kind of guy. Plays good in big games, sort of deal.
Shaw, for the Blackhawks back in the day. But anyways, like I don't know whatever that means to anyone. He's $2,700. He's not that difficult to plug in as a last man in or a cash.
Yeah.
And you looking at anything on the Isles here? Nelson, Lee, Eberle, they appealing?
It would be that line, I think, for me. I like that one the best.
And then we've still got a ton of value on the Isles defenders here too. Boychuk at 3,600, Pulak 4,100, Hickey price bump up to 2,600, and Leddy at 3,300. All guys A value grades on Awesemo's rankings. Any of those guys that you want to point out?
Boychuk's been really good floor-wise lately, and I think Pulak. Those would probably be my two guys. there. Pittsburgh, you can never really tell who's going to come through as far as the value side goes. Letang's the main guy I want. The power play is in a good spot because the Islanders are giving up a ton of expected goals against at even strength. Their on the penalty kill, their expected goals against are one of the worst in the league. So I think their penalty kills due to catch up on them soon.
All right. Anything else in this game we should talk about, either of the goalies? And then I'm gonna do the giveaway spiel. Forgot to do that at the top of the show.
Yeah, goalies are kind of a wild card here. I don't really have a strong feel on any of them. This is the third game they've played so far this season. They could tighten up a little bit defensively. But yeah, in general, I'm kind of leaning Malkin line and the Nelson line, just because they have better high danger chances for than the other two lines.
Okay. On their team. Yeah, so I think we just differ a little bit there. I'm getting more like Crosby with sure. Other top lines, whereas like the Malkin line isn't coming up if I treat him as a top line.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so the giveaway, guys, I've been talking about the last couple days. We're giving away a free Osmo.com NFL premium membership for the rest of the season. For the first week, we will have different giveaways up until Christmas Eve. And the way you get entered into that is you like this video, and then you comment something. For today, we're going to do the highest scoring goalie on the slate, DraftKings points. So whoever you think that is, whether you think it's Jonathan Bernier or Bobrovsky or DeSmith, whoever you think it is, comment once this video is done being live, and then you will be entered in, and a winner will be chosen at random. So that NFL subscription does include showdowns as well, and then ownership projections and any other premium content on the site on the NFL side. And we have some very good NFL analysts. So you're going to want to do that. It's free. Just give us a like, subscribe, and then comment with the highest scoring goalie. Next game, Montreal and Ottawa. Another monster total. This one's showing 6.7 on our screen. Montreal at 3.4, Ottawa 3.3. Carey Price against Craig Anderson. And for a total this high, we're not really seeing a ton of super expensive skaters, especially on the Montreal side. So where's the value in this game, Steve?
Yeah, it's all pretty cheap, right? The Domi line did do most of the scoring in the last game. Mm-hmm. The Gallagher line had a much better possession game, you could say. They were kind of all over it, dominating the shot attempts, scoring chances, all that. So I'm kind of willing to go back to them here, just given that everyone's probably going to flip back over to the Domi line.
Yep. The Domi line has been like the most tilting line of the season for me. I seem to never get them right. But I mean, you did talk me into some of them, so I think I had like 7 or 8%. But I just cannot get them right at all.
The funny thing, the reason why I wanted to play them is because I thought they're going to be playing against Duchesne or whatever most of the time, and actually the Gallagher line played mostly against them. Yeah, it wasn't a hard match. They played against both the top two lines, and the Duran line played against the Stone line and the third line. So that's I like their matchup against the depth, but they actually scored most of their goals against the Stone line, the one line we wanted to avoid. Right. So that was kind of funny. You're right and you're wrong in both ways. I'd rather be wrong and lucky though than right and unlucky.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Give me the luck every single time, right? You just put yourself in a spot to be lucky every once in a while. But yeah, it was kind of an oversight by me not having any of the Domi line, so I'm glad I I'm glad I recrunched and got at least a little piece of them, so I didn't end up with 0. At least I got you're currently winning on DraftKings was above 0 for a little while there. Speaking of that Stone line, I really like them tonight. They're coming up as one of the top point and value grades for me. I don't know. Did you say they're probably going to get some like third line action here?
In this matchup, I don't know. They probably. I'm trying to look back. They didn't really match anything against San Jose. Yeah. So I have no idea what they're going to do here. I know Boucher likes to have an opponent-specific game plan, so good luck predicting what he's going to do.
Maybe we see some Zach Smith going up against Domi, Shaw, Drouin. I mean, that could happen. It's happened already this year with Smith as the opposing or the shutdown line.
Yeah, exactly. It could be that. If you look a couple games ago, so last game against San Jose at home, they didn't match at all. But then against the Rangers, the previous one, they did have that Zach Smith line against Zibanejad. So I don't know if they do that again or what.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. But yeah, I do like that Tkachuk White Stone line. They did give up a few goals last game. Maybe they bounced back here, played a little bit better. I know Ottawa's a much better team on home ice. If you just look at their record, their home and road records are night and day.
Yeah, huge splits from the chances, like shot attempts, all that, scoring chances.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that Ottawa, the White line especially. Duchesne line is fine. They all link up on the power play, which is nice to see. The only issue I have with the White line is that they're not listed, at least on the Shabbat power play.
Yeah.
But I'm still playing a ton of Shabbat. He's my highest projected player, I think, on the slate, or maybe I know the highest projected defender. So I'm just going to be hammering him for 6,700. And then I'm sure Shea Weber is going to be very popular tonight in this matchup as well. Petrie will probably get some love too.
Yeah, he should be popular. I wonder if it cools off a little bit, given that he didn't do too much last game.
Yeah.
Kind of hope so.
Right? I mean, he attempted he had 9 shots on goal or something wild in his first game back. And, you're not going to keep up that pace, but still, I'm fine playing him at 6,500 with either of the top 2 lines. So, are you going to split your exposure to Montreal 1 and 2, or are you taking a bigger stand on one of them?
You know what? So you know what I did the other day? Because there's a price disparity on both sites. Montreal, the Gallagher line was noticeably cheaper on DraftKings and more expensive on FanDuel. The Domi line was much cheaper. They're a very good value on FanDuel. So I just played the Domi line on FanDuel and I played the Gallagher line on DraftKings. Just played the value.
Yes, you just shopped around for you can definitely
essentially
especially if you're playing on both sites. It's a smart thing to do. Just play the one that's the better value on each site.
Yeah.
And then you got anything on the Ottawa defenseman besides Shabbat or the goalies here?
DeMello's interesting since Lajoie is out with an injury, I believe. So he's on that second power play unit he's on the Stone unit there and he's projecting pretty well in general over the last couple games. He's cheap. He plays on the top pairing with Shabbat, so he's kind of an interesting option there. It's 3,900. I think his price went up a little bit.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And then Price or Anderson?
Kind of a toss-up on the goalies. Leaning Anderson at home, but I don't have a strong feel on it.
Yeah, I lean with Anderson here, but it's not going to be any sort of crazy exposure. Osmo leans that way too. It looks like B points grade, B value compared to Price at a D for both of those. So
yeah, this is kind of a tough slate for goalie. There's so far through every game we've just talked about, I don't feel great about any goalie at their current price point.
It's not great at all.
Yeah, there's really not a ton of great spots looking ahead even to the other games that I love.
Oh yeah, there's nothing. So it's going to be a night where I limit exposure. I'm not having every goalie at 100% or even close to it. It's probably going to be more like 20.
Yeah, I might cap to like 10 or 15. I don't know.
That might be
or just goalie stack.
Right.
Just goalie stack one or the other.
You could certainly do that too. The only issue I have with that
just hope for the best.
Yeah, the only issue I have with the goalie stack is that if you put that in as a rule on Fantasy Cruncher, then you're literally never getting a game stack.
A game stack, yeah.
So that's the only issue. I've been burned by that a couple times where I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, if you're doing that on, it's a little easier to do on FanDuel if you're doing that with the goalie rules, because you could say stack your forward with either a defenseman or a goalie from the same team. So then, you can get 4-4 stacks, or you can get 4-3-1 kind of deal.
Sure, right.
So it helps there. But yeah, you're right. It eliminates the possibility of game stacking. So I don't know. Maybe you could do 100 crunches with stacking with a goalie, and then maybe 50 without.
For sure.
Without setting it for sure.
Yeah. If you're going the full 150, I think that's probably smart.
Yeah, you could try something like that.
Boston and Tampa Bay, we have Tuukka Rask going up against Louis Domingue, 2.7 implied total for the Bruins, 3.4 for Tampa. Tampa looks to be priced down a little bit, both lines, or at least they're relatively affordable. Are you expecting to see some point against Pastrnak and Marchand matchups tonight, and what does that do for you for DFS?
Yeah, I do expect that. It seems like DraftKings is pricing opponents against Boston as if they still had Bergeron in the lineup. They're using their season-long numbers, it appears. And I haven't seen anything glaringly bad about Boston pushing one way or the other as far as allowing shot attempts or scoring chances, but they've been giving up more goals and haven't been scoring as much, so should be considered as a more favorable matchup these days. And that's why, we had such a big discount on Florida last game.
Yeah.
Now, Tampa's not so bad either.
Yeah, that was an oversight by me too, the Florida thing. So I just completely whiffed on Tuesday. So I feel locked in today though. I'm ready to take it down. So are you on that point line though? I'm assuming.
I think they're a good option. I mean, so like I said, they've been priced as if Bergeron's still there, but I don't think their numbers, their individual line numbers, are particularly bad even without him.
They're not. Like, I was looking at it today.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty even. You know, they're just not like elite offensively.
Yeah.
But they're actually, they've cooled down defensively. They had one really bad game, and then since then, even with Cave there, like they've been okay. So.
Yeah, I think their penalty kill probably suffers the most.
Yeah.
Even strength, their numbers seem okay. So I don't particularly love the point line at even strength as being a great matchup. There's better matchups on the slate.
Yeah.
But they also play together on the power play, which is appealing. Johnson doesn't join them on the top unit, but I think their power play is probably in the best spot tonight.
Yeah. And Boston's had issues on the penalty kill all season, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? 76% for the year. I don't know what their unblocked shot attempts are.
So their penalty kill, they're 22nd ranked penalty kill on the year. Their unblocked shot attempts are pretty poor.
Okay.
And expected goals against on the power play are pretty poor as well. They're not taking as many penalties as they had in years past, though.
Yeah.
And just kind of see what they've done more recently compared to their season numbers. They look pretty much in line with their season-long numbers, so I don't think it's really suffered all that much. But they're not taking as many penalties as they were last year.
Okay. Any other lines you want to talk about? Are you looking on the other side on Boston here with Cave providing some value and Marchand at 5,700 on DK?
I do want to take a look at that Boston top line. Not heavy exposure to them, just because Boston's had such a hard time scoring goals. But I think we've talked about on multiple slates that that point line for Tampa has their defensive issues as well. And without Vasilevsky in net, I'm not scared of their goaltending at all either.
Yeah.
So I think Pastrnak and Marchand and Cave are definitely worth some looks here. Their offensive shot attempt numbers are pretty good. Very average, high danger chances, but I think against a goalie like Domingue, it doesn't really matter. You could probably score from the blue line on him.
Tampa 2, and we're expecting a hard match. The point line allowing 15 high danger chances against per 60, 37 scoring chances, a bunch of shots. So they're just not sound defensively, and if they're going to hard match against Pastrnak, Marchand, Cave, you wouldn't be shocked if that line has a good night at even strength, and then you've got Marchand, Pastrnak on the power play as well, and then Cave just mega cheap. So I'm definitely going to have some, probably going to be around the 5 to 7%. That's what I've been getting on my first few crunches. So that's,
I like that.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
I don't think they're going to be owned
good number
at all.
No, I think that's plenty to get over the field.
Mm-hmm. And then, all right, anything else in this game? Krug at 5K, I like a little bit. Osmo does too, so that is also good to see. And then Hedman, McDonough. McDonough's been having the better production as of late, but Hedman on the top power play.
Yeah, McDonough not being on a power play unit. I think he's not. Is he not even on the second unit? Is he?
Not even.
Yes.
Not on either.
So it's not as appealing to me. I think he's okay, but don't love it.
Can we play any of these punts? Carlo at 2,600.
I mean, you could. They just don't do anything. If you just want to get 2 points, then sure. But if you're playing GPPs, you probably want a little bit more upside.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then you're not a Louis Domingue fan, I take it, for 8,200 here.
It's tough. I mean, Boston has such a hard time scoring now. But 8,200 for Domingue, I don't know. He's just okay at that price. I think FanDuel. I bet you he's probably still pretty cheap there.
For sure.
He's 8,600 on FanDuel. That's much easier to stomach there. He's in the upper range, but he's not quite up there.
Right.
So I think he's totally fine on FanDuel. But I don't know. He's just a fine option, not a great option. That's given the price.
And then Rask, 7,100 on DK.
Rask is more interesting on DraftKings at that price, I think, but it's a bit of a punt option, a bit of a dart there. Like you're just kind of hoping for the best.
Yeah, there's no like mispriced goalies, I think is the key here on DK.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah.
So it makes it tough. All right, so let's do Minnesota and Calgary. We've got Alex Stalock going for the Wild, Mike Smith for the Flames, 2.9 implied total for the Wild, 3.2 for Calgary. I read a stat, it was either yesterday or this morning, about Calgary averaging the most goals at home of any team this season. So I don't know what you do with that, but I did not realize they were that good at home. I don't really have a great read on this game, so you can talk about whatever you want here.
Yeah, I assume I haven't looked closely at Calgary at home recently. I don't think we've had many games with them being at home in a while. On the big slates anyway.
Yeah.
So I haven't paid close attention. They're still hard matching backline against the top lines, I would assume.
They are.
But has Monahan been seeing the second line?
It's kind of a little bit of everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
So I kind of wonder, which lines they match up against, because I think Minnesota could be decent enough of a play on the road here.
Mm-hmm.
The top line seems like a very obvious option for Calgary, but on the Minnesota side, I think I'd like to take a shot on one of those lines. Smith hasn't been a great goalie recently. I assume he's in net here, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he hasn't been good, Mike Smith, in a little while, I think. So I kind of want to take some shots on Minnesota as well. But yeah, the Calgary top line, their power play at home, they're always in play. A bit expensive, but I still, at home, I prefer to play them at home in general.
For sure. Right.
But I kind of want to take a shot on the stall line.
Yeah, the stall line is where I would go. The matching is going to be murky because even though we know it's going to be Backlund against whoever they think is the top line, there's not even like last year. So the stall line didn't become a thing until last January, I think, or maybe last December. And the Flames haven't played a home game against the Wild since last October. So we just have no idea what they're going to do here. It could be Backlund against Koivu, Coyle, Parisi.
That's kind of what I think it's going to be, because like we've talked about, why would you want to have the Monahan line go up against Koivu? Like that's Minnesota's shutdown line.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. But either way, I think I'm willing to take a shot on the Stahl, Granlund, Zucker line.
Yeah.
Regardless. Yeah, you're not going to want it that much if it's going to be Backlund, but we don't know if it's going to be Backlund against them, and we don't think so. So yeah, it's just the top lines on either side here.
Yeah, the other thing I'm noticing too is the 74% of the bets are on Calgary and the money line's going towards Minnesota.
So reverse line movement?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Minnesota, I don't know. I feel like I don't get them right as much as I should.
Yeah. But, I mean, I think realistically this is probably going to be a lower scoring game, but I think the top lines kind of cancel each other a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I still want to take shots. I still want to take my shots. Just given the offensive talent on both sides and the full power play correlation, I think I definitely want to take shots on both the top lines.
Yeah, I think you're right. We've got Giordano for the Flames at 6,100 is the obvious play if you're going with Calgary 1, but now all of a sudden you're getting real expensive, almost over 26K to stack those four guys together. And then on the wild side, you could take your pick between Dumba, Suter, and Spurgeon. I don't know. Any of the guys you want to point out here?
You never really know who's going to come through on the Minnesota side, but Suter, Spurgeon seem like the best bets for offense these days. Dumba's on a bit of a colder streak recently, but he's always in play as well. And then, yeah, it's just mainly Gio on the Flame side. I guess you can pick and choose those cheap guys, but I don't really have a strong take on either of them.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. And then we've got Stalock at 6,900, another punt option, but not a great spot going into Calgary. And then Smith at 8,100. That's probably a no-go for me.
Yeah, 8,100 is kind of tough for Smith. I don't think. Well, he's won a bunch of games in a row, but I don't think he's played. Yeah, he's actually played a touch better, but he's been playing against Arizona, LA, Chicago. He came in, I think, in relief in Columbus, gave up 3 goals and got the win.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's worth 8,100. He could have a good game, but again, no strong feels. I still haven't found a goalie I love.
Yeah, there's really none.
Yeah,
all right,
I think Stalock at 6,900 is worth a shot if you wanted to punt.
Sure.
I think I'd probably rank him ahead of Stolars and Bernier there, bottom.
Yeah, he'd be neck and neck with Stolars for me. Stalock's
Yeah.
he's pretty decent for a backup.
Yeah.
All right, we got 4 more games and like 10 minutes to go. Actually,
Okay.
no, never mind. We can go as long as we want. There's no show after us, now that I'm thinking of it. NBA is the later lock tonight, and there are only 3 games. So we can go a few minutes over if we need to, so no need to rush. Capitals and the Arizona Coyotes, 2.9 implied total for the Caps, 2.7 for the Coyotes. We have Phoenix Copley going up against Aiden Hill, or Copley. I don't really have anything that I want in this game outside of maybe some Backstrom Ovechkin with Burakovsky because he just makes it a little bit affordable. But, yeah, I kind of stumped on what to do with this, if anything at all. What about you, Steve?
Leaning towards some Arizona exposure here.
Okay.
It's kind of scary, but just looking at the defensive numbers for Washington at 5-on-5, just haven't been particularly great. I think that Kuznetsov line, while their possession numbers are strong, 73 shot attempts for and only 50 against, they're trading high danger chances like crazy, offensively and defensively. And I'm guessing Ovechkin, Backstrom, Burakovsky's not a good defensive player, so I think that's going to be another poor defensive line. So I think Arizona's worth some shots in GPPs. Just trying to pull up the stats of the 2 lines. I think the Keller, Schmaltz, Galchenyuk line's quite interesting to me. They're generating the most high danger chances so far of the 2 lines.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would probably be where I would go with Keller and Galchenyuk on the same line and all on the top power play with Ekman Larson and Chikrin, actually. So, yeah, I guess they're cheap. I don't know. I don't know why they're not coming up at all for me. Because I agree. Like, I like to target Washington, especially on the road. So, I don't know. Maybe I will end up with a little bit of Arizona, but it's still not going to be anything crazy. Are they going to be popular at all as a filler line, like either of these 2?
No, I don't think they'll be super popular. But I think they're reasonable plays, just looking at those numbers. And, I mean, both those 2 Arizona lines give up a lot of high danger chances as well. So I just kind of want to see how Arizona's matching, if there's a definitive matchup here.
I mean, Richardson line has been seeing some time against opposing top competition.
Yeah, they just got St. Louis, right? So they played against O'Reilly Tarasenko at home.
Yeah. But
pretty hard. So that's good. That's better for the Keller line for me. I think, they will see the depth of Washington, which will be weaker. So
how's that Eller, Smith, Pelly, Stevenson combo? Have we seen them together? I don't know if we have.
I don't think so. I don't have their updated stuff. On here.
Eller. No, they only have 9 minutes together. So
so not enough.
Yeah, can't really say anything about them. Aiden Hill, is he in your Poole for 7,100 at home. He's played okay.
Low total game at home. He's played well. What's he given up, like 2 goals in 4 games?
Yeah, it's been solid.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, yeah, it's probably worth a look at 7,100.
Yeah.
He's only a slight underdog in a low total game.
Yeah. That would be the guy that I would go to here. I don't know how much Copley I'll have on the other side. Just kind of a weird price for being on the road. I know it's a low total against him, but I'd rather go elsewhere with my 7,800 or get a couple extra $100 and get a guy that I think has a better chance to win.
Sure, yeah.
Do we have any defensemen that we want to talk about here? Ekman Larson, Chikrin, or some punts, I guess, on the Arizona side?
Ekman Larson on the top power play unit is kind of what I like the best. He's only 4,400.
Yeah. All right. I think I would agree with that. And then are you going to anyone else besides Carlson? Does anybody do anything for you there?
No one really stands out at their prices there. I mean, Kempney's got a decent floor, but his price now at 4,500 is a little bit much on FanDuel. He's at 3,600, so I don't mind him there.
Okay.
And Goligoski possibly.
Okay.
But those are just sprinkles. Yeah.
Yep. Let's move it on to Nashville and Vancouver. We have Pecorine going up against Jacob Markstrom, another cheap goalie, not one that gives you a ton of confidence. But anyways, this is another one that I don't have a ton I want to talk about. There is some value on the Vancouver side I'm getting a decent amount of, both like sprinkles of the top 2 lines for Vancouver. I don't know if you've got a read there, and then a decent road total for the Predators here. But I just don't really like their lines all that much outside of maybe the top one. So where are you at here?
Yeah, I really have a hard time in these Vancouver games because, yeah, they're just such a tough team to figure out stats-wise. They look pretty poor in general, but they don't always give up a lot. So
yeah, I just never...
The Pettersson line seems pretty good for Vancouver, and they tend to get favorable matchups at home. They had the Horvat line in the shutdown role last game.
That's what they've been doing, for a few games now.
Yeah, just that specific combination that they just put together, though.
Do you know much about Levo? Wasn't he a big prospect? I mean, he's 2,800 and playing on the power play with Besser and Pettersson, but
yeah, he's an offensive guy. He's not a defensive guy. That's why he never really cracked the top lines on Toronto for the last little while. But he can shoot for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I watched a little bit of the Vancouver game a couple nights ago, and they looked good for the few shifts I watched, if that matters to anyone. Levo happened to score a goal on that shift too, so I don't know. That's probably the line I do prefer on the Vancouver side. But
yeah, Horvat, full power play looks like.
Yep, full power play. But Horvat, Virtanen, and Goldobin are also super, super cheap. But they probably get the worst matchup against Johansson, Hartman, and Fiala.
We have very small sample sizes on these lines for Nashville. It's been like 20-something minutes or less. But they look like they generate a lot of high danger chances, but also give up a decent amount too. With
Arvidsson and Forsberg out, I'm assuming they're just not as good defensively.
Yeah, exactly. So they're giving up some higher quality chances. We don't have a ton of data on either really of these two teams. The Pettersson line with Levo, like they've only played the one game together, so you're just kind of taking a shot on the talent there. You know, there's a lot of talent with Pettersson and Besser.
Yep. Defenseman here, Edler at 5,600, and then the two obvious guys on the Nashville side, especially now that they're on the top power play, are Yossi and Ryan Ellis. But like none of these guys jump out to me as guys I'm going to have 30% of or anything crazy. This game is kind of on the back burner for me overall, despite it being a good power play matchup for Nashville. At least
this is Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Yeah,
you go.
I was just gonna say this is not something I regularly do, but might be the spot where I include a D-man stack. The Yossi and Ellis might be the best option, to be honest, because Vancouver is so bad as far as giving up power play opportunities, and their penalty kill is not great either.
Sure. Yeah.
So Nashville doesn't have a good power play, but those two together, if you're going to give them a lot of power play opportunities, Nashville's drawing one of the best teams as far as drawing power play opportunities, and Vancouver's giving up the most power play opportunities. So I think they'll see a lot of time on the power play tonight.
Yeah. Chris in chat says Nashville has drawn the most penalties, and Vancouver has given up the most penalties. So maybe I shouldn't just disregard this one, but. Anyways, we've got Rene at 8,400 and Markstrom for 6,900. Any of them appealing to you?
Rene's tough just because Nashville doesn't give up a lot of shot attempts at 5-on-5. I mean, maybe it's a little bit different now that Forsberg and Arvidsson are out, but Vancouver doesn't generate a lot of shot attempts either. So where is he going to get the volume from to pay off that salary?
Yeah,
it's kind of tough. He needs a shutout.
That's where I'm at too. He's kind of off the table. So,
yeah.
Markstrom is going to be in that pool of guys where I'm going to have some of at 6,900, even though Vancouver commits so many penalties. I'd rather not, but I'm not going to put all my eggs in the Stalock basket or Bernier.
Yeah.
Stolarz.
Yeah, you're right. It's a kind of a mix and match sort of night at goaltender.
Yep. Blackhawks and the Vegas Golden Knights. Blackhawks on the back-to-back, 2.5 implied total for them. 3.5 for the Golden Knights. Corey Crawford could go on the back-to-back, or it could be Cam Ward. And then it's going to be Marc-Andre Fleury for the Golden Knights. Pacioretty, game-time decision. Vegas 1 going to be pretty popular for an 11-game slate, I would have to imagine. Chicago looked awful last night. Are you riding with Vegas 1 here?
Yeah, Chicago looks awful every night, so... Yeah. Vegas stands out. They scored 8 on Chicago last time, so I imagine they'll be pretty somewhat popular tonight.
Yeah.
Although Vegas 1 hasn't been having a ton of success, I don't know if people are sick of going to the well there or what. Psychologically, I don't know how that's going to play out as far as ownership goes.
Yeah, I think the MME guys, like the top ones, like Alex and Tom and Testosterone and Eddie. They're going to hammer Vegas 1. It's just too good a value for
they'll come up a lot. They will come up a lot on DraftKings there.
Yeah.
But that second line did all the damage the last time they played.
Yep.
So I wonder if we see the same thing. Typically you don't see the same thing in back-to-back games, but
was that one in Vegas or was that
was in Chicago?
In Chicago. Okay. So it's not going to be the same matchups or anything that they're trying to exploit.
Well, it could end up being the same matchups anyway, because I think they played against the depth of Chicago, and the Taves line, I think, went against the Marchessault line. So I think, the Marchessault line is probably going to be on Taves again.
Okay.
Like at home. So.
And then what are you doing? Assuming Pacioretty's back, are you kind of splitting exposure? Are you getting a bunch of exposure to Vegas too as well?
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to. He was on a bit of a hot streak before he got injured. He's on that power play unit that's much better when he's there, like with their full power play unit there. They've been heating up a lot. Chicago's penalty kill is not very good. I think they've given up like 8 power play goals against in their last 8 games kind of deal.
Okay.
So I think, I want exposure to both Vegas lines tonight. It's some kind of power play stack maybe, but it won a lot of exposure to Vegas.
Yeah, it's hard to avoid them, I think, even on a slate this big. A lot of value. And then, is there anything on Chicago's side that you want to mention? Goalies, skaters, defensemen, and then anything on the Vegas defensemen that you have a strong take about?
Not really anything I love on the Chicago side, but I will do some due diligence and actually look at their recent line numbers here. But maybe the Kane line there, but that's about it. If they can avoid the Marchessault line at even strength, you want to target the Vegas depth if you're attacking them at all. But back to back on the road in Vegas, where Vegas plays much better, I don't think it's a great spot.
Yeah, I mean, it would be the Kane line for me, but I honestly don't even know if I'm going to include them. If I do, it's going to be very, very minimal exposure. So I'm not in the business of trying to hammer the Blackhawks right now in DFS.
Probably no need. Probably no need tonight on an 11-game slate.
Yeah. And then Fleury, 8,300. Would he be a cash type for you if you could pay up?
Yeah, he's a very, very solid option. Chicago's been scoring on very low volume recently, though. And I know that I played a lot of Fleury the last time they played in Chicago. He got the easy win, but very few shots against. And so it kind of hurts the price at 8,300. All the expensive goalies aren't expected to see a ton of volume tonight, which is difficult. But I think he's a very fine option.
Okay. Last game of the night, we have the New Jersey Devils and the LA Kings, 2.7 implied total for both teams here. Keith Kincaid against Jonathan Quick. Probably some top line options on both sides, but do you prefer either the Hischier or the Kopitar line? Like, are these going to be main stacks for you?
Not really. Not main stacks. I think LA's offense is somewhat interesting, just given how bad New Jersey's been on the road. But the expected goals matchup, New Jersey's much better offensively, and the Kings' power plays or penalty kill is pretty bad too. Yeah. So I am leaning. If you're talking offense on either side, I do like the Taylor Hall line, but in general, don't love this game.
Yep, Taylor Hall line is going to be the majority of my exposure in this game.
Yeah.
Probably going to have some Kopitar, but that's just because of their value as a trio. I'm seeing I follow on the top power play too. That doesn't hurt for 3,400. Just full correlation on that top line now with Doughty if you want to throw him in there for 4,700. Staying away from Devils defensemen as usual. And that's really all I have in this game. Anything else?
I'm kind of liking Kincaid.
Kincaid?
Yeah, he's shaping up to be my favorite goalie option on DraftKings.
Yeah, the only issue I have with Kincaid, and it's not even about Kincaid, is I like Bobrovsky a little bit better. But
yeah,
the same price range, I'm going to have some of both for sure. Why do you like Kincaid so much, actually?
Just because it's LA.
Yeah.
They can't score.
That's true.
Pretty much, and Kincaid's been the better of the two goalies, I believe. Although he's been in a kind of a rough patch himself lately. And the team doesn't play well on the road, but I don't know. I'm willing to take some shots here.
I don't know if you saw this. It's not on the screen. We don't have it updated yet, but Lipsick on the second line with Carter and Toffoli, does that do anything for you?
No. Yeah. I don't think it makes a big difference. Their numbers look pretty solid with Clifford as far as their possession numbers and their high danger chances for. They look pretty strong, even though they didn't get the results. So I kind of don't want them to break up that line, but whatever. Lipsick is he's not a priority play for me, but I think he's super cheap. So he makes a $3,900 and $3,300 Toffoli even cheaper. So I guess he's okay. I didn't see if he was on a power play unit this morning, but yeah, enough of Brennan Lipsick talk. Again, giveaway we have going on, free NFL subscription to Osmo.com. Premium for the rest of the season if you like this video and comment the top scoring goalie, Bobrovsky, Kincaid, whoever you think it's going to be. All you have to do is like it, like the video, and subscribe and comment with the goal you think is going to score the most DK points. You'll be entered in, and the winner for the free subscription will be chosen at random. I've already had a couple winners so far that are very happy. So, yeah, it's free to do. All you got to do is like it and comment. So do that. Steve, you got anything else? Any last words of advice for the people? Not particularly. This is kind of a tricky slate as far as goaltending goes, so just don't go too heavily on one guy, I would say.
Yep, spreading around the exposure is the name of the game, in my opinion, for this slate. Yeah, good luck, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. I think it's Nolan and I. I think it's a short slate, so maybe we'll have some extra time to go over what some of the top players did tonight for tomorrow. Good luck, guys.
Cheers, guys.